got a water today. I'm really taking this seriously. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is summerloufox. If you are new here, then welcome. Hello. My name is summerloufox, but I've just said that anyway, so don't worry about it. So yeah, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you do enjoy today's video. I've been putting this video off, I'm not gonna lie, like for the last 2 weeks and the whole day today. It's now 12 o'clock at night. That's how long I've been putting it off. Just because in order to film a video like this, like it's talking about emotions and feelings and like going over like the past and all that stuff, it takes a lot of energy and it's just draining, isn't it? But I do feel that this will be a form of therapy for me, and I hope that it will be a form of therapy for some people watching this as well, because recently, very recently, I've come to, oh my god, I've better explain this, yeah, so I don't know what it, the way I'm just talking, like, yeah, I have this thing on my finger. I split my nail open with the acrylic still on top of it, so it's really long, and if I leave this off, then it will like split again, so I'm waiting for it to heal. And I've wrapped it in this to make sure I don't knock it on anything. But yeah, the nails are not in a good situation right now. But anyway, I'm distracting myself again from the main topic. Yeah, I've come to a realisation recently, and it is very profound. It's groundbreaking, okay? No, it genuinely is. I know at least one person will need to hear this. So this, my darlings, is going to be the truth about dating after heartbreak. Well, my truth at least. So I'm going to take you on a journey, and it will build up to the recent profound realisation that I've had that is so important, and I feel like it's really going to start me off a new chapter in my life. So I'm going to take you back to 3 years ago, over 3 years ago, when I first broke up with my boyfriend. I was with him for 2 years. I've done a whole breakup video about that a couple of years ago now. But in short, I was very much in love. He ended things because he didn't know who he was and he wanted to go off and travel the world. Fair enough. But when I was with this boy, I used to be so obsessed, so in love, and I used to always say that if we ever broke up, I'd end up in a mental asylum because that's how much I loved him. My happiness very much depended on him, whether I was going to see him that weekend or not. My life was revolved around him basically. I didn't really know who I was, what I was doing. All I knew is I loved him. That's it. That's the only thing I knew in life. So when we broke up, as you can imagine, I was devastated, I was lost, I was crying. That was 100% the worst thing I've ever gone through in my whole life emotionally, like, because I've never like lost somebody that I loved like via death. So via death, who says that? So this for me was still up to this day the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So yeah, you'd think it would take a long time for me to get over that, but it only actually took me, I think, 4 weeks before I downloaded Tinder and started going on dates. That's not a very long time at all. Looking back, I should have took longer. I know that I should have, but that's hindsight, and hindsight's a funny thing, isn't it? And to be honest, I can't be hard on myself because everybody deals with that kind of grief differently. For me, I think the pain was just too unbearable to carry on feeling, so I just did the only thing I thought I could do, which was just to repress those feelings and find a distraction. For me, that distraction was Tinder, dating, you know, messaging of new people, meeting new people. And I'd never been dating before. Like, I had been in a relationship since I was 18 to 20, so I'd never been an adult, a single adult for a very long time before, and I've definitely never been on a date apart from with my ex-boyfriend. I remember after the first date I had, like about a month after the breakup, I had a phone call with my ex, just like a random one, and I remember like crying on the phone to him and saying to him, I'm over it, I don't love you anymore, sort your life out, you know. And I remember I was convinced I was actually over it after only 1 month, which is so crazy. But I actually thought that. After that first day, oh my god, I became hooked. I became a Tinder addict. I became a serial swiper. I fucking loved it. I loved it because it was an ego boost. I liked the attention, I liked the excitement, but most of all I loved that it distracted me from my breakup, from my feelings, from the feeling of loneliness. Every single time that you know, my feelings that I repressed would rise up and cause me to feel loneliness in my chest, you know, and it just comes over you and you think, oh, I'm bored, I'm lonely, shit, I miss my ex. I would just grab my phone out and start flicking through Tinder. And I wouldn't just do it then though, it wasn't healthy. Like, I would do it at work every single time I'd finish one task at work. I'd be like, right, let's reward myself with a half an hour of swiping now. Sometimes I remember I wouldn't even look, I'd just be like this, like while I was swiping. So due to becoming a serial Tinder swiper, I also became a serial dater. I loved having someone to talk to constantly. If I didn't have somebody to speak to, and if I was going through a dry spell where, you know, I'm trying to find my next victim, then I would be a bit down, a bit bored. Then those feelings of loneliness would start arising again. I might cry over my ex again. So I really just never gave up. I was always looking for that next person to distract myself with. I remember at one point I wasn't talking to somebody and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck, I'm so depressed. And then I remember that night this boy messaged me on Instagram and I was like, oh my god. And it was like a relief. It was like, yeah, I've got my self-worth back again, I'm excited again, I'm happy again. Like, my whole happiness was now dependent on if I was speaking to a boy. So I'd gone from depending my whole happiness on the person that I was in a relationship with to now I've lost that person, so I'm going to depend my whole happiness on a completely random stranger that I've not even come into contact with yet. For that first year of dating, I think out of all the dates I went on, and I probably went on a date every single month, maybe twice a month some months. So say I went on like 18 to 20 dates that first year when I was single. Out of all those boys that I went out with, I only liked, I can't even bend that finger, liked, fucking hell, I only liked 2 of them. So these 2 boys did have things in common. They both were my type, for starters. They both had similar qualities to my ex, shock. And they both were love bombers. So initially they both really overdone it with the attention, you know, they're like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with you, you're so amazing, you know, like, gave it all the large. And they both, after a couple of dates, ghosted me. And I reacted absolutely dramatically to both of these scenarios. I cried over both of these boys, despite the fact I'd only met them twice each. Maybe one of them I'd met once, the other one I'd met 3 times. But still not enough to be crying, to be shedding tears over these morons. But I was crying my eyes out. I thought about them for like months afterwards. It was like another heartbreak kind of thing. I would, you know, be in bed with anxiety when one of them ghosted me. It was a huge ordeal. And it's just hilarious looking back because I didn't even know these people. What I'd done is met somebody once or twice, they'd given me the best version of themselves and I'd made up the rest in my head of what they could potentially be for me. But that just doesn't make sense because that's just not fair to project my desires onto somebody that isn't that person. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, I didn't even know these people to be crying over them, basically. So I was completely overreacting. But the reason why I was overreacting looking back is because I still wasn't over my breakup. You know, it'd only been 4 months since I broke up with my boyfriend of 2 years, who I was deeply in love with. And I was seeking validation from these strangers, from these men that I'd met twice. And when they rejected me or ghosted me, I went straight back to that place of not feeling good enough again, like I did when I got broken up with. And those feelings that I repressed would rise up again, and that would cause my extreme overreaction. It was like I was going through the breakup all over again. So going into my 2nd year of dating, at this point I'd become very confident dating. It had become part of my routine. I'd become actually very good at dating. I would still get nervous, but I was very much like blasé, like, yeah, I'm going on a date this week. It wasn't really an exciting thing to all my friends anymore when I went on a date. My friends really stopped asking that many questions about it because it wasn't exciting. It's like I'd done it all the time. And because I'd become so used to it, part of my routine, what I didn't actually realise along with that was that I'd become very comfortable with being single also. Not to say I'd become comfortable with being alone and single, because being alone and single are 2 different things. Being single whilst dating and always constantly having someone that I'm talking to, that's what I'd become comfortable with. Hadn't become comfortable with just being completely on my own with not talking to anyone at all. God no. It was almost becoming like Groundhog Day as well. Like, although I enjoyed it and I enjoyed the idea of it, when I was actually there, I've noticed that I was kind of boring myself, because when you think about it, if you date a lot, you end up having the same kind of conversations over and over again. For the new person that you're on a date with, it's probably completely new to them, they're enjoying the conversation. But for me, I've had this conversation every single month for the last 2 years. I say the same jokes every time. I can't help it, it's just instant reactions. It's like you get so good at it, it's almost like you're reading a script. Not one that's in front of you, but one that's like drilled in the back of your head. You know, there's certain things that I just say every single time on a date without meaning to, just because I know it works well. And it sounds so calculated, but it's just subconsciously you just come out with the same shit, and it gets boring for myself listening to myself talk the same shit every fucking time. Sorry, excuse my hair by the way, I went for a walk around the park earlier, not like me at all. It's the first time of the week that I've actually left the house. And it rained, so that's why my hair looks like this. But anyway, let's carry on with the story. So usually I'd meet a boy and I just wouldn't like him, but if not that, then I'd meet the boy, I'd like him for the first day, and then I'd see him again, and then I'd find something wrong with them. I'd be like, nah, ick. They'd give me the ick and I'd be gone, on to the next. It was around this point, at the beginning of my second year of being single, that I started having these strange thoughts about my ex again. This was a whole year after we broke up. And I'd been fine the whole year. Like, I'd been absolutely like, yeah, I'm over that shit. Like, don't even love him anymore. Oh my god, yeah, I've moved on so quick. Yeah, I get over shit really quickly. And then all of a sudden it just hit me, and I didn't understand it at the time. I just thought it was caused by the contact that we made. But now looking back, I know that it was for other reasons, which I'll get onto. So it got really bad. That whole second year, I was on and off thinking about him all the time. I considered messaging him and telling him I still loved him. I would just be in absolute tears after nights out when I was drunk. My friends would be like, I thought you was over this, and I'd be like, I know, but like, I don't know. I'd be on dates with other boys thinking about him. I remember there was one boy that I was like sleeping with, and we was laying in bed together. I think we just slept together, and he didn't know that I was crying, but I started crying, like in bed over my ex, whilst I was laying next to this other boy in bed. And I was crying because I think I just started feeling sad that I wasn't feeling how I would feel when I used to lay in bed with my ex with this new boy. And I was like, oh my god, like, oh. And despite that, I did carry on dating every single month. I remember my mum said to me, like, do you even want a boyfriend? Because at the rate I was disposing these men was absolutely astronomical. Because I was just like, yep, next. My mum used to say, like, yeah, do you really want a boyfriend? Or what are you actually looking for? And I used to be like, yeah, of course I do. Obviously. And she'd be like, yeah, but you don't really give him a chance. And we'd have these debates, me and my mum. I'd be like, yeah, but I feel like if it was the right person, then I'd just know, and I've just not met the right person. Sometimes I'd meet someone, I'd be like, oh my god, I'm obsessed. On the first day, I'd be like, I'm obsessed to everyone. And then 2 weeks later, they'd be like, oh, what happened to that boy? And I'd be like, oh no, went off in. And everyone would be like, oh, shocked, do you know what I mean? And I can imagine that gets so boring for people around me to listen to all the time, like me saying, oh my god, I'm in love with this boy, and then 2 seconds later I'm like, no, he's gone. They're all like, yeah, fucking hell, we all saw that coming. So it was getting like that, and then I was crying over my ex when I was pissed on the weekends. It just wasn't an ideal year, really. Although, at the end of that year, I did start my spiritual awakening, and I feel like this is relevant to mention because I feel like if it wasn't for that, then I probably wouldn't have had the realisations I'm having today, and it wouldn't have shifted my mindset into what it is now. So yeah, I started reading spiritual enlightenment books. The first one I read was The Power of Now. It's Eckhart Tolle, and it absolutely changed, I feel like, everything for me. It's changed my whole perspective, just everything. So it was around that time where I actually did meet someone. He was a really lovely boy. I met him out, and we were seeing each other for 2 months, and that was the longest that I'd seen anyone the whole time I'd been single in those 2 years. It still is the longest I've ever seen somebody up to now as well. I did actually try with that one. I think I did want it to work because of how lovely he treated me, but it just didn't work because we were just too different. We just had completely different personalities and we weren't a match. So that ended, and after that I did feel defeated, and I went through the thing of, oh, shall I have a break or whatever, but as usual the break lasted probably 2 weeks and I was off out with somebody else again, and the cycle continues. So going into 2020, this is my third year single, third year dating. I'd learnt a lot by this point. It was not all bad. I learned how to be more confident in myself. I'd become more of my own person. I feel like my personality developed a lot in these years. I've become more independent in so many ways. I was going on holiday on my own and all this stuff, which I would just never have dreamt of doing when I was in a relationship. So 2020 I feel like was a bit of a shift because of COVID. Obviously I couldn't date as much as I had been in the past, but you know, don't doubt me, huns. Every opportunity I got in 2020 I was still on a date. Like, obviously we had been locked down for the majority of it, but every time we was let out for a couple of months I was out there. I felt like I'd been deprived of, you know, I was going to say dick, but I won't say that, it's quite rude, I've said it now. I used to start thinking like, maybe I don't actually want to meet someone, maybe I'm the problem, maybe that's not such a crazy thought. The universe would give me signs as well. Like, I remember this YouTube video popped up about emotional unavailability, and I watched it and it did resonate with me, and I thought, oh my god, am I emotionally unavailable? Like, that does actually ring a bit true, but no, surely not, because like I can't stop dating.
Oh fucking hell, where's that flash come from? I'd also just like to mention that although I like dating, say if I slept with someone and the next day I was laying in bed with them, I'd get this really weird anxiety. I'm not sure when that started to develop, I think maybe in my second year, where I'd feel like I needed to get away. I'd feel really claustrophobic, so I could only spend a certain amount of time with a person before I'd start to feel like I needed to be on my own again. I feel uncomfortable.
So there came a point in the summer where I was out in a park, because you was allowed to go to the parks at this point, and I ended up meeting this boy, and shock, he looked exactly like my ex-boyfriend, same type of look. I think that is just my general type, to be honest, although it does like correlate like with my ex, and it's like, oh bloody hell, can't you just be attracted to somebody else that doesn't look like that, Summer? But I think that just is my general type. It's been my type since I was like 12. I used to love Zayn Malik, and then ever since then it's been the same. But yeah, I met this boy, he was my type physically. I went out with him twice, like met up with him twice, and for those 2 times I wasn't obsessed. How I say I'm not obsessed, but I thought he was, you know, he was alright. I'll give him a go, and it was like in the middle of Corona, so I was a bit bored and a bit excitement deprived, so I kept going with it. It wasn't until the 3rd date that he said something that made me be obsessed. And do you know what he said? He didn't exactly say it, but he suggested to me, hinted to me that he wasn't quite emotionally available. He was not looking for a relationship or looking for anything serious right now, kind of thing. He didn't say it with his chest, but he implied it. He probably didn't want to say it with his full chest because he knew I'd probably be like, oh fuck off then. But he said it in a way like, oh, it's like, I'm not really wanting anything right now because we're like in the pandemic and stuff. But when I hear that, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for many people out there, we take that as a challenge. That's actually the point where I noticed my pattern, is that I only ever consider myself obsessed with someone when I find out they're emotionally unavailable. Those 2 boys I liked in my first year, I liked them because I could sense emotional unavailability, and I saw that as a challenge and an opportunity to prove myself worthy of love. That's a bit deep. For some people watching this, you'd be like, well, where did you get that conclusion from? But trust me, I've done my bloody research at this point. We're doing therapy here, guys. If I spoke to a therapist, that's what she'd tell me. I'm telling you now. So this is a point of self-realisation that I had. It wasn't to the point where I was going to take action and do anything about it, but this is the point where I felt that it was confirmed. I knew I had a problem with wanting people that were emotionally unavailable at this point. Couldn't help myself, still wanted him. When he told me that, something just clicked in my head and I'm like, oh my god, no, I have to have him, you know. So anyway, that failed because duh, he was fucking emotionally unavailable. And what happens when somebody is emotionally unavailable is the other person will usually try too hard. I probably came on too strong and it probably freaked him out. When you can feel that somebody really likes you and is really keen, you can feel that, can't you? You can feel that vibe. The funny thing about it was that after it was over, I was able to completely understand why he backed off the way he did, and how I'm explaining to you now, I can imagine his exact thought process. He could feel my vibes getting too like needy, and it just freaked him out and he left. And then I asked myself, well, how come I can understand that? He's emotionally unavailable. I'm not. Am I? I'm emotionally unavailable, aren't I? I'm him, aren't I? That's the moment that I realised that I was emotionally unavailable. And it just made so much sense, because if I really wanted healthy love and if I was ready to receive love like that, I had plenty of opportunities. I've met plenty of lovely guys. However, the only boys I ever took an interest in were the ones that told me that they weren't looking for anything serious. Men like that aren't looking for something serious, they are a magnet for emotionally unavailable people for many reasons. In my case, one being that I'm not healed, I don't love myself enough yet to be emotionally ready to receive healthy love from somebody. The only time that I would deem myself worthy of that type of love is if I win somebody over, if I prove my worth to that emotionally unavailable person, prove my worth to them and myself. Only then do I feel like I deserve that, you know, love at the end of it. And that's the first reason. I hope that makes sense.
And also, that's the only type of love that I've known. The type of love that hurts and that you have to really work for and that's toxic. That is the type of love that I romanticize.
And the other reason why we go for emotionally unavailable people when you're emotionally unavailable is because it's easy. You're subconsciously, you probably know that it's not going to work out with this person because they've told you they actually don't want anything. So you don't have to worry about the actual commitment, which is ideal because you're emotionally unavailable and you're actually shit scared of it and you don't know how to even comprehend or imagine committing to someone. So by being rejected all the time, you can carry on with your self-deprecating routine and keep playing the victim. I saw somebody talking about that on TikTok. Honestly, there's been so many signs that present themselves to me trying to make me realise this stuff. With this whole situation that happened with that boy, that's when I knew, but I didn't actually deep it and take action about it. The catalyst for my real realisation that I've had recently only happened about a month ago in December. All my feelings and thoughts were confirmed when I met this absolutely perfect boy. Now, this boy was physically 100% my type, personality 100% my type, everything that I would ask for in a man. Even he was, you know, gentlemanly, funny, fucking clever, had a good job, has a good job. There was no out for me to be like, oh yeah, but he's got that wrong with him, he's got that wrong with him. He didn't, he doesn't. I went out with him once, went for a drive, and I loved him. I was like obsessed. I thought, oh my god, I'm obsessed, you know, obsessed. Of course I am, it's the first fucking date, I do that every time. And then I saw him again. And after that second time, I realised that he was actually emotionally available. He actually showed clear signs of liking me. He showed signs of wanting to keep pursuing me even after we'd slept together. And what did I do when he done that? Because I'm emotionally unavailable, I fucking freaked out and left him, didn't I? When I was ending things with him over text, he was like, I don't understand, like we was getting on so well, what have I done? I know I'm really annoying, I'm sorry. And it's shit. It's so shit. And it was at that moment when I had to tell this boy that I'm just not ready and I just need some time by myself, that I just thought, I need to stop doing this because it's not fair. It's not fair on me to keep putting myself through this all the time, and it's not fair on this poor boy who's so lovely and I'm doing this to him. And people have done this to me. They just ghost you out of thin air and say, I'm not ready, I've decided I don't want a relationship. And I know how that feels when you're on the other side of it. You're like, well, what the fuck have I done? And you think it's you and you feel shit. I don't want to make people feel like that. This is what I want you to know as well. If you're watching this and somebody's ever ghosted you or, you know, said similar things that I've just mentioned, don't always think that it's you. 90% of the time it's nothing to do with you. It's about where that person is in their life and what they're going through. Everyone is a complex individual like you are. They've got their own traumas, their own shit that they're dealing with, their own healing to do. And people have got so much shit on, like, going on in their head. So when people ghost you, assume that it's about them and not about you. People can only meet you where they've met themselves. All this time I'd been looking for someone, thought I'd been looking for a boyfriend, but all this time I wasn't ready. I wouldn't have known the right person if they slapped me in the face the whole fucking time, because I'm not healed. I never healed from my breakup. A whole 3 years ago from now, I only gave myself 4 weeks to grieve and process those emotions. I never sat with those emotions on my own and dealt with them and healed. I repressed all those feelings and I went out and carried on with my life. And that's all I knew to do back then, so I don't blame myself for that.
And I've also realised that it's not just, you know, trauma that I've been through with that one breakup. There's been trauma that I've been experiencing with men since I was like 12 or 13. And I've repressed a lot of those emotions as well. And it's only recently I find myself, I think I've got like a hatred for men, and I project my hatred on poor innocent men sometimes.
When you repress emotions, they don't disappear into the pit of your stomach and fly out your ass. No, they stay there buried deep, and when you encounter triggers in life, they will rise up again and they will spill out and you will explode. And that's what happens when you get ghosted, when you overreact and it all comes out. When you're alone for too long and you feel lonely, that's a trigger, and all those feelings rise up and you feel like shit and you feel like you have to download an app and talk to somebody. But the reason why you're overreacting is because emotionally you're going through your breakup all over again. That whole trauma is spilling out. And that is just the most, I don't even know if there's a word for it. That is just the best realisation you can have. Like, it makes so much sense for all my dramaticness and everything that I've been through the last 3 years with men. It's just like, it's just dawned on me this last month. And I'm like, what the fuck? I feel like this is a new chapter for me. I feel like sometimes you can know something for so long, but one day something just clicks in your head and then you know what you have to do. So after I had this conversation with that boy when I was ending things with him, that recent boy last month, I asked the universe actually for a sign. I was like, universe, give me a sign. I said it out loud. I was like, am I doing the right thing? And a couple of days later, this TED talk popped up on my recommended on YouTube. And it was a woman talking about why she thinks you should have a break from dating. And I thought, this is for me. This is my sign. The woman on this TED talk was basically doing exactly what I'm doing with you guys now. She told her story to her audience of her dating history, what she'd been through. And it was basically exactly the same as mine. Not like specifically, but she'd been through the same patterns and then eventually the same realizations as what I've described to you today. And at the end of the TED talk, she urges the audience, she urged me to take a fucking break. Take a break, to be really alone, to sit with your feelings, feel them all, feel all the feelings that you never dealt with through your first breakup. And this makes so much sense to me because do you remember earlier when I said that after that first year of being single, I randomly started thinking about my ex again and started crying again. And I thought it was because of the contact that I had with him. Now looking back, it wasn't because of that. It was because I never fucking got over it. I never dealt with it, literally. So I declare for this next 6 months, I've actually put it in my diary, my calendar, July, I think it's like mid-July, till then I will not be dating. That is my absolute minimum goal, to be on my own and not emotionally invest myself into anybody. I've been doing this for the last like 3 weeks or so. This is the longest I've ever been without re-downloading a dating app and searching for somebody to talk to. And already I feel quite accomplished. The hardest bit about it will be, and is, when those feelings of loneliness rise and they come up in my chest. I feel mine in my chest, you might feel it somewhere else, but I feel it come up. And what I have been doing for the last 3 years when that feeling comes up is downloading the app and talking to people. And now I've got to retrain myself to not react to that impulse, not act upon that impulse, and just breathe and let it pass through me and do whatever I need to do to accommodate that feeling, cry or go and do something that makes myself feel good, go for a walk, write in my journal, meditate, film a YouTube video, read a book, do something that serves me, really serves me long term, not do something that's going to give me self-gratification for 5 seconds and then I'll be back to the same bloody situation 2 days later. And that's the real challenge of it, because it is an addiction. If some people are addicted to cigarettes, that impulse overcomes you and you just act upon it straight away. You don't give yourself a second to process it and just let it flow through you until it disappears. You act on it straight away, and you know, that's an addiction. I'm not going to restrict myself to the point where it's unrealistic. I'm not going to say to myself, till July you're not allowed to even respond to any people on Instagram when they try and talk to you. You're not allowed to go for a drink with someone if you really want to. I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. It's unrealistic because you never know what's going to happen. But what I am saying is that I will not meet someone with the intent to try and be in a relationship with them. From now on, I'll always go in making that person aware that I'm talking to that I'm not looking for anything serious right now, and I genuinely, for the first time, mean that. This whole year has been such a year of realisations for me, not only on this topic. Like, for example, I realised that I am bisexual like at the beginning of this year, and that's something that I always knew deep down, but I just never really dealt with that either. I just like pushed it to the back, can't be asked to deal with that, not important. I've only ever had a boyfriend or whatever, and I still only feel comfortable really. Like, it doesn't come naturally for me to mention girls and stuff when I talk, like to friends, family, even in videos. I'm constantly just like, boys, yeah, boys, when I meet up with boys. But that's not the case. I'm just becoming more comfortable with my sexuality and talking about it. But yeah, I do label myself as bisexual these days, so I might even end up with a bloody girlfriend in the future. It's all up in the air, do you know what I mean? Dating is for healed people that have it all together, not for people like me and for people that are emotionally unavailable, who aren't healed from past trauma or old relationships, who don't love themselves enough. If people like that, if people like me get into relationships how we are now, it won't be good for either parties of the relationship. It'll either be completely toxic, completely one-sided, or it'll end in fucking tears, or it'll be codependent. When two healed people come together, I imagine it's quite beautiful when you're both really good for each other. I can't really speak on it though because I have never had that before. But I'm really excited for the future because I feel like this is my first step towards finally getting that. Because don't get me wrong, God, I crave that connection. But I know now that in order to crave that connection, in order to get that connection eventually, I have some shit to do. I feel like I'm really proud of myself for even coming to this realisation and finally having this light bulb moment. I'm really proud of myself, to be fair. What I'd like to say to you if you are going through a breakup now is, don't be hard on yourself. Do what you have to do in order to cope. But I would recommend you having a break. I really would. Have a break, and although it's so shit and it's so hard, just sit with yourself and let yourself process for as long as you need. Hi, my name's Summer. I'm an addict, serial Tinder swiper and dater, attention whore. But it's okay because I'm working on it, and I'm going to become the best version of myself and eventually find the love of my life, whether it be 2 years from now or 10 years from now. I don't care because I love myself. Well, nearly. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did. I've left all my social medias down below in the description box if you want to give me a follow on anything. If not, then I will see you in my next video. Bye.